Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first webinar on the Innovation Partnership. We hope that you and your family are safe in this very unusual period of time. We are very happy that so many have registered for today's event, almost 400 people, and this shows the interest on the Innovation Partnership of the ecosystem of innovation procurement and in general of public procurement community. We noted that there are many participants from all the members of the ecosystem, counting local authorities, authorities at the national level, at the regional and local level, as well as startups, competence centers, labs, and innovation agencies. This is all very positive for all of us. Just to introduce myself, my name is Ivo Locatelli. I work for DG GROW from the European Commission, which is the Directorate General, which is responsible for the internal market, industry, entrepreneurship, and SMEs. And more specifically, I work in the unit which is responsible for digital and innovative procurement. We really have a very interesting set of speakers, and we look forward hearing their presentations and also questions from the audience. Before we start, I would like to have introduce some housekeeping remarks. You have already received a set of explanations via the link that was sent to you. Essentially, all the participants are all connected via web streaming. You will be able, nonetheless, to ask questions and to interact via the speakers via a Slido. You have received also, regarding this application, a specific link. We would be grateful for every question that you want to pass via Slido to indicate to whom they are addressed and what is your name. Of course, we will read the questions and will address them specifically to participants. So the speakers only will have mics and video switched on. The meeting is divided in three main parts. First, we will have the welcome and introductory speech and also the introduction to this cycle of webinars by David Blanchard, the head of the unit responsible for the organization of this webinar. Then we will present the results of our survey on the cases of innovation partnership in the EU, and then we will have the presentation of successful cases of innovation partnership by our very distinguished speakers. I would like now to introduce the other speakers. They are Charlotte Sandberg and Helle Holze from the Danish Business Competition Authority. They are both special advisors. Matias Plat, head of the Property and Facility Management Agency in Austria, which will present a case of software. And Martin Bunček, director of the Technological Agency of the Czech Republic. I will now pass the floor to David Blanchard for the keynote speech and introductory speech. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Ivo. Good morning to everybody, and welcome to this webinar, the first webinar of a cycle that we are pleased to open today. And as Ivo will have the opportunity to mention it, we have planned a cycle of 3 webinars on innovation partnership. It's very important for us to be able to exchange ideas with you today. Very important because we need to promote innovation. We need to promote innovation because innovation is our future. And here I'm quoting one of the leading political masters in the EU. And innovation is also a solution to many of our challenges. And the list of challenges is getting longer and longer, as you know, even if we can summarize these challenges with one word: recovery, recovery, recovery. And as explained by our president, Mrs. von der Leyen, in particular in her speech delivered in the European Parliament for the statement on the state of the European Union, and as explained also by our Commissioner, Mr. Thierry Breton, in charge of the internal market, this recovery has to support the green and digital transition, and has also to contribute and has to strengthen the resilience of the EU. In this context, we have to use all existing tools supporting innovation. And in the context of public procurement, we have one tool, which is, I would say, a new tool, innovation partnership. It's still a new one. It was introduced in the EU legislation in 2014 with the package of directives which were adopted back then. It was then transposed into national laws, and it was transposed with a little bit of delay, and that's why we can still consider that it's a new tool which still has a huge potential. And this procedure is still a new territory for many public buyers in the EU. For many public buyers. And we are convinced that innovation partnership is a powerful tool to support innovation and to help public buyers to deliver on their objectives. And it's very important also to shed light on this new tool, because it's also a new way to support innovation. In a traditional way, support to innovation is mainly envisaged from the supply side. We support the supply side. With innovation partnership, we are putting demand at the forefront. So we can support innovation through demand. But we can even do better in particular, because in order to support innovation, we don't not only have to support supply, we not only have to support demand or stimulate demand, we have to reinforce the cooperation between supply and demand. And that's exactly what innovation partnership is about, strengthening the cooperation between supply and demand. To tap into the potential of this new tool and of this cooperative mechanism between public buyers and suppliers, we consider, and we know, but this will be confirmed by all the participants in these webinars, we are convinced that innovation partnership has to be better understood and better used. And that's why today we will have a couple of high-level presentations to help colleagues, I would say, within the EU to better understand innovation partnership and to see also what is its potential and how to engage into this avenue. And I would say that we are very convinced that we need these type of exchanges with you, because it's rather easy to say that we have to support innovation through demand, and that there is a new procedure, which is, again, one tool, not the only one, but one tool to support innovation. It's easy to say that, but we know that it's more difficult to implement things on the ground and to make the changes happen. That's why we are convinced that these exchanges with practitioners is absolutely essential. And we as the Commission, we are determined to support public buyers on the ground. There are many activities which we have initiated. For example, with Ivo and the team, we have put in place a network of big buyers, the big buyers initiatives. The pilot phase is now over, and we will try to expand it to reach out to more public buyers, to help them work on concrete projects associated to innovation and to the challenges we have to face today. We as the Commission want to help public buyers. We want to reach out to public buyers, and we want to help public buyers become buyers of the 21st century, I would say, using all the potential tools, being innovative, engaging with the market, connecting with innovation ecosystems. There are many, many, many fronts, there are many issues, but today we are going to start this cycle of webinars to understand one procedure, the Innovation Partnership, which is a promising tool. I will stop here. I will wish you a very good webinar. Don't hesitate to share ideas with us. And before I leave, I would like to send a special thank to the speakers. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Helle. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Matias. Thank you for your time. We are going to listen carefully to you, to your experiences, your recommendations. We are also trying to listen to you to understand what are the needs, what are the types of support which would probably have helped you at the time you initiated your innovation partnership. We need to share this type of information to be more efficient and to help buyers. Thank you, everybody, and a special thank also to the team here in Borchet, in Brussels. It's very unfortunate that we have to be here without any participants also in this room. We are all there. Thank you, Ivo. Thank you, and have a nice webinar.
Thanks a lot, David, for your very interesting speech, which touches all the relevant policy points on the innovation partnership. The first thing we would like to do now is to launch a very short poll before we start. To do that, I invite all of you to switch to Slido and to use Slido to answer the poll. We will see the results after my presentation. The poll is about the objectives for your registration to today's webinar. Whether you are interested in innovation procurement, interested into public procurement on the innovation partnership, and so on. So, as I said earlier, and just before passing to the results of the surveys, I just want to show you again the cycle of webinars on the innovation partnership. We have slides which recalls the forthcoming dates of the webinars. The next one will be on the 1st of December and will concern market research, market consultation, designing documents, and project management. Preliminary market consultation is very much at the heart of this first webinar, which will take place on the 1st of December at 11 o'clock. It will last 1 hour from 11 to 12 o'clock. The following webinar will take place on the 1st of February 2021 and will cover from negotiation to the execution of the innovation partnership, negotiation, managing of the suppliers during the execution of the partnership. We will conclude our cycle with a podcast with an entrepreneur which has taken place in a procedure of innovation partnership. Without any further ado, now I will move to the results, the key results of our survey on the innovation partnership, and I will touch upon 3 main topics. The first one is the data analysis, some facts of how and how many parties have implemented the innovation partnership in the EU in the period 2016-2019. The second part will cover some best practices, some lessons learned from all these cases, and also from the discussing with the buyers. The third part will cover the supplier's point of view. With regard to the data analysis, well, as a starting point, we identified all cases, all relevant cases in TED. We carried out an extensive survey of all the cases with a questionnaire. We have also carried out video calls with a number of speakers, more regarding the most relevant cases, and with the suppliers. Out of these most relevant cases, we have selected our speakers, which, if you can say, they are la crème de la crème of the cases of innovation partnership in Europe. We identified 96 contracts, 19 contract award notice, 96 contract award notice, and 83 contracts which have been awarded. I think it's very interesting for us to share these results with you, the results of this exercise, which has been very thorough. We can estimate that there have been 400 million of contracts awarded in innovation partnership during this period, mostly in 2018 and 2019. This is very obvious because late transposition of the directive by the member states has delayed the implementation of this specific and new procedure. The take-up has been increasing, whatever is the perspective that we take into consideration. If we take into consideration the number of contracts, the number of member states where this procedure was implemented, and also the total value of the contracts awarded. With regard to the member states, in this period we counted the cases in 15 member states. The most active ones are France, Finland, Czech Republic, and Germany. But we can say it has been spreading all over Europe. Also, it has been, on the purely quantitative point of view, it concerns mainly the application of the classical directive, but nonetheless, there have been few cases regarding the utilities directive. We will talk later about SMEs participation, which is very, very relevant. Next slide, please. A very wide range of needs have been addressed through innovation partnership, and also a very wide range of sectors. We will see later some very interesting cases. There have been cases concerning, for example, green, climate-neutral schools in the Netherlands, and we will see a very relevant case in the next webinar in December. For example, we have cases concerning cultural heritage and the renovation of a stadium, which is part of a historical heritage in Finland. Very interesting. Education, like development of new learning tools and edtech, but also defense, for example, driving simulators for the army. Very, very interesting. And of course, health. In the field of health, for example, our Danish colleagues will present a very interesting case on elderly dehydration and their monitoring, but also there are very interesting technological developments regarding capsule for endoscopy. So technology, but not only technology. Very, very interesting cases. Also, with regard to the type of buyers, they vary very much. We have buyers at the national, federal agencies, ministries, but also a lot of regional projects. And also a lot of small contracts, which are, and we can say that 20% of the cases are below the EU thresholds. Next slide, please. The buyers also have been looking for the suppliers, for the best suppliers on the market, and we noted a high number of cross-border contracts, much higher than, let's say, for general procurement. We can say that 12% of contracts have been awarded to foreign suppliers coming from another EU member states. This is more or less 3 times more than in general procurement. Also, where there is a need, this is essentially covered by the national, by the budget, let's say, of the relevant administration. And in fact, projects were very rarely funded by the EU. We founded only 3 cases of innovation partnership which benefited from EU funded. Brexit is going to have an impact. Our colleagues from UK were very active, and of course, we will see a reduction in a number of awarded contracts. This is very clear. And data quality is indeed a serious issue. many contract award notices indicated innovation partnership, although in reality the procurement activity covered something else. We had very funny cases concerning the purchase of beer or cemeterial services, and this certainly did not concern innovation partnership as we intended normally. Next slide, please. Indeed, the innovation partnership is for the SMEs. The startups and SME data are impressive. The data on the value is sometimes missing in TED, so we don't have the full sample, but nonetheless, SMEs took part in 51 of the winning bids, also as members of a consortium in some cases. This represented 61% of all contracts awarded in using an innovation partnership, and more than 2/3 of the value of IP contracts were awarded to SMEs, of course, where the data on the value is available. This is really, really interesting and shows how the innovation partnership can also attract startups. Next slide, please. We now move to the second part of my presentation, which concerns the best practices and the lesson learned, essentially learned by speaking with the buyers. If you can move to the next slide. This is about the importance of the market consultations, and this is really essential to make the project known and to identify also what is the state of the art, of the technology, of the process, and on the products. Although no slides should be done in writing all these words, and this is definitely too much text, we left it on purpose to stress out that all kinds of preliminary consultations were carried out, like expression of interest, dedicated business fairs, bilateral meeting with suppliers, or workshops to present the projects, and also to attract the suppliers and prepare the market also to this innovative procedure. Next, please. The innovation partnership is very much about also project management, and project management culture is essential in this respect. It's very important so that you organize the team internally with the necessary expertise, which can be internal and external, so include also external experts. And it's very important involving the suppliers in this process. The decision makers have to be informed about the innovation process, which is not sometimes the easiest task, because they might not be fully aware of this specific procedure and the specificities of the new product or service which is being developed. Many questions are definitely to be expected. As we pointed out in the slide, we try to refer to a very famous song, which says, "Should I stay or should I go?" In reality, it's a go, no go decision making, but we thought that this song could more easily fix the idea that there is a very important decision-making process which involves decision makers and sometimes end users, and sometimes it is important that the partnership is stopped where, for example, certain milestones are not met by the suppliers. It's also very important to plan very well at each stage of the project, identify the key elements, technology, IPR, data management, to prepare the negotiations. Next slide. Clearly, the negotiation of a partnership is very key, and their format depends very much on a case by case. You can have physical meetings, written questions, hearings. So the duration and the format are very, very variable. What is important is that the exchange with the candidates is defined is prepared by defining in advance the scope of the negotiation, and also the exchanges have to be carried out in such a way to align and to bring the expectation of the buyers as close as possible to those of the other partners. And here, I have to say, the mantra is really about building trust between the various stakeholders. Next, please. This These final slides on this section relates to the communication between buyers and supplier in the execution phase. We will hear more from our speakers later. And also we will hear more in the next webinars. What is important here that the public buyers have told us that the procedure does not end with the award of the innovation partnership. The public buyers have put in place process to ensure smooth communication between the teams. Sometimes they have been referring to agile methods or iteration system. Next slide, please. And then finally, the supplier point of view. I think this is also very interesting because it's the other side of the story. All the feedback that we got was extremely positive. No one indicated any difficulties. Also, if we are talking about very small companies such as startups, maybe we can move to the relevant slide. The negotiation, of course, sometimes presented some difficulties, but with regard to the objectives of the project, the means, the resources which were made available, for example, for the by the public purchaser, or the development phase of innovation. It is indeed a question of forming a partnership and agreeing between the various parties involved. What is important, I think, that all the suppliers indicated that it was very useful for them in terms of value of the company, in terms of know-how acquisition, in terms of market expansion, and sometimes, as a result of the partnership, the suppliers even changed their business model. With this, I've finished this presentation, and I think that you had the opportunity and the time to fill in our poll, so we can now look at the results. So far we got 65 replies. I see that the majority of them relates to a general interest in the innovation procurement, but this is very much close followed by an interest in this specific procedure, the innovation partnership. We also see that there are some positive replies with regard to those which intend to use the innovation partnership, 11%, which is not bad, so it makes about 6 participants, and also some have already used the innovation partnership before. Maybe it's our speakers, maybe it's somebody else. There is also about 20% which has a general interest in public procurement. Let me remind you so that to use a slide or to use it to introduce your questions, please indicate to whom the question is addressed and also indicate your name. Now we can move to the most interactive part of our webinar, which I hope you will also find interesting very much. We will have these 3 very distinguished speakers. I will indicate precisely what is the order of the speakers. We will start with Mr. Martin Buczek, which, as I said before, is director of the Technological Agency in the Czech Republic. The agency in the Czech Republic has completed several cases of innovation partnership, and it certainly goes to the podium. Maybe he also gets the gold medal in this specific discipline, so he has a unique experience to share. After, we will hear the presentation from Matias Plat, which is head of the agency responsible for real estate management in Austria. He will present a project on the purchase of software to be used in real estate management. The typical buildings are schools, offices. So it's very interesting and a very innovative project. And then this will be followed by Charlotte Sandberg and Helle Hølse, both special advisors at the Danish Business Authority of Denmark, and they will present these cases on dehydration of elderly people. And what is very interesting is that they cover the innovation phase and the preparation, but the actual buyers came from local municipalities. So I will now pass the floor to Martin Bunček to start with his presentation.
Good morning to everyone. I will start my presentation with some words about the technology agency. So next slide, and even next slide, please. The technology agency is the governmental body established 11 years ago by the government. We are responding directly to the government, and the aim of the technology agency is to support the applied research and innovation in the Czech Republic. Next slide, please. We are the administrator of the state budget chapter, so we have our own money as a part of the state budget. And we are running the support by several programs. Most of the programs are general programs supporting the applied research, and we have one program called BETA, and the program is for supporting the public procurement of the needs of state administration bodies. Now we are giving this support of procuring the research and innovation for more than 21 governmental institutions, mostly the ministries, but also the other state administrative bodies, as I will show you the example of one innovation procurement for one of such a state administrative body. The program is implemented from 2017 till 2024. It had its predecessor, the program BETA 1, from 2010 to 2016. So it's the second program of such a public procurement of innovations and research. The program budget is planned for the whole period for 62.7 million euros. But actually, you can imagine that the actual spending budget is very much lower. Now we are after 5 years, or at least nearly 5 years, only 15 or 17 million euros spent. Next slide, please. I have to say something about the, I think, specific situation, as we had also project support from the European Commission to involve the PCP, the pre-commercial procurement in Czech Republic. And we have a very specific situation. We have two legislation: the Act for supporting research, development and innovation in the Czech Republic, and then we have, of course, the Act for public procurement. And that's always a very hard situation for us to involve both acts to support the research and innovation by public procurement. Next slide, please. You can see the number of projects procured till now. It's 111 projects by different procedures. Mostly we are using the competitive dialogue as the procedure. We are running 4 innovation partnerships till now. Of course, sometimes we are using the open procedure as well, and we are using framework agreement with the mini tenders inside the framework agreement as well. So next slide, please. That's the total of innovation of procurement procedures in the agency in the program BETA. Next slide. And the example of project. That's the goal of the projects is to create a comprehensive and user-friendly information system for regulation for Energy Regulatory Office. That's the office regulating the prices of energy in the Czech Republic, the governmental body. And they needed a complex system, including the repository of data, analytical module, knowledge module, process module, and they are planning to use it for their work. Next slide, please. So we started with a preparatory phase. That's something what also Ivo was talking about. We spent 10 months by the preparation of the innovation partnership. It was the problem specification. We communicated with the state administration body and also with the potential suppliers as well. We did at least 2 or 3 preliminary market consultations. And based on these consultations with the state administration body and also with the potential suppliers, we decided to use the innovation procurement. And we drafted the terms of reference. And the first public procurement notice was done in May 2019, last year. Next slide, please. Then we selected the 3 participants. That's one of, I have to say, that's the challenge, not only in Czech Republic, that there is not so much known this procedure, and mostly the suppliers are not really willing to enter these procedures. So that's why we spent, for example, those 10 months by attracting also the suppliers. So finally, we got 3 participations with 3 negotiations, and we got 3 proposals in the first phase of the innovation partnerships. And we selected 2 as the one withdrew from the competition at this stage. And we assigned, there was the assignment to create the innovative proposal of this information system architecture and design. And the implementation time was 3 months. Next slide, please. Now we are in the second phase of this innovation partnership in this project. So as I said, we have 2 proposals. During this process, we got 4 negotiations during this procedure, and we have final proposals. Then we identified the maximum financial allocation, and the final allocation was slightly lower, but during these negotiations, usually you got the first, your first insight is very relevant. And from the May this year, the project is implemented. So it will be 24 months, 1 year, and that's based on the delivery of the pilot tested functional information system for the Energy Regulation Office. Next slide, please. So thank you very much, and I'm ready to answer your questions.
Thanks a lot, Martin. So very, very interesting. While I invite all participants to submit questions via Slido, is now pass the floor to Matias for his presentation.
Thank you very much. Well, very warm welcome also from our side. My name is Matias Plat. I represent a big Bundesimmobiliengesellschaft, which owns over 2,200 properties throughout Austria, and is therefore one of the major real estate companies on the Austrian property market. Our portfolio ranges from educational buildings, such as schools and universities, to offices, residential, and major urban district developments in several asset classes. Next slide, please. When we started to think about the future development of our company and our department, it quickly became clear to us that we had to take the social developments and future expectations of our users into account, as more than 500,000 people use one of our buildings every day to learn, work, or live. Regarding these circumstances, we had a closer look to the technological developments such as IoT, Internet of Things, which in our view will shift our society from a modern to a connected one. We then had a closer look to the impact to our public buildings, and we soon realized that the connection of the infrastructure and all our stakeholders, which you can see on the slide, will play a crucial role for us in future. That's why we see a significant need for a software solution or a platform that connects all these relevant stakeholders in the public real estate. So why do I tell you? Please, next slide. We then started a market screening and market research, and we realized that our need was not developed at that time and not offered on the market. So we had to think about which procurement method we're going to use to find a comprehensive solution to meet our requirements. And in contrast to conventional procurement processes we knew and we were common with, we this time had to find a partner with whom we develop a product for fulfilling our needs. So why did we choose this procurement method then? The main aim of the innovation partnership was to combine the innovative ideas of bidders with our know-how and experience regarding the public real estate. Hence, we wanted to set up a structure which allows us to support innovative ideas, but also to participate in the success in future in form of a joint development. The innovation partnership is an innovative procurement procedure in our view, combined all our needs and had another big advantage, namely the possibility to choose multiple partners in the research and development phase process, and therefore this increases the chance of finding the right solution for us. Next slide, please. So before we started with the tendering process, we set some major goals we wanted to achieve with this innovation partnership. And the main goal, as already mentioned, was the combination of a software and real estate. Because we think, or we thought at that time, that creating a link to the digitization progress of the buildings is the USP for our future developments and for our future public real estate. Next to this product itself, we aimed to target mainly startups, or also startups with the tendering process, and wanted to give them the opportunity for strategic long-term partnerships. Next one, please. So on the next slide, you can see our tendering process, where the main challenge in the beginning was to fulfill all legal requirements on the one side, but on the other side to simplify the whole process as much as possible in order to attract as many companies as possible. The whole procurement process took place from May 2019 to December 2019 in a two-stage process. In the first stage, we had the highest number of downloads for our company in our company history for procurement ever, counted with over 90 companies, and we finally got 11 applications from 3 different countries throughout Europe. Out of these 11 companies, 6 companies would have fulfilled the qualification criteria according to the innovation specification, but Unfortunately, formal errors applied by law decreased this number to 4 companies. So this is for us one of the biggest lessons learned we had during this innovation procurement process, namely that we didn't find that SME companies had it easy to apply for this innovation partnerships, as it was the first time for them. And next time we're doing it, we would give them a specialist or a law firm at our cost to help them to fulfill all these requirements. So in stage 2, we then had these 4 applicants where we had the negotiation period or procedure. And throughout this negotiation phase and the jury hearing, the number decreased to 2 applicants with whom we started the innovation partnership in December 2019. One more information for the criteria. The criteria for the award decision was done by jury and derived from 80% qualitative criteria and 20% price criteria. It was quite a big change in the criteria setting also for our company. Next slide, please. So where we are today. Next slide, please. Thanks. We are now in the innovation partnership, where we have, as already mentioned, 2 applicants. We just started with the second milestone. During the phase, both partners receive remuneration for each milestone. For us, the best thing is if something should go wrong, we have the possibility to stop the research and development phase with one or all of the companies, which gives us great flexibility for further steps. Due to the current COVID-19 crisis, we are a bit behind the schedule, but we hope to finish the innovation partnership process by the end of this year and are able to decide whether to acquire one of the developed products or not. Last but not least, maybe just some interesting points. What were the main challenges for us during this procurement method, or what we expect as the main challenges? We think that this procurement is not faster than other procurement procedures, but it gives us or the public authority more possibilities. Especially with the SMEs are not yet familiar with this public procurement, which is not quite astonishing thing, as it's a new procurement. Even in Austria, we were the 3rd innovation partnership ever done in our country. And the greatest challenge for us, of course, in the beginning was the lack of know-how and therefore the very high initial costs to get everything done and to set everything up. But we think that this will be much better next time, as we now have everything in-house and are also familiar already with this procedure. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Matias. Very, very clear. I think now it's time to hear from Denmark, from Charlotte and Helle. The floor is yours.
Yes, hello, everyone. I'm Charlotte Sandberg. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes. Go ahead.
This is my colleague, Helle Holtsø. We've both been project leaders on the innovation partnership in the DBA during different phases, so that's why we're both here today. And thank you very much for the invitation to share our experience. On the next slide, you see our agenda. So first, I'll tell you about the role of the DBA, then give you a short introduction to the dialogue we had with both public side and the market before launching the partnership. After that, Helle will take you through the step-by-step model developed for the innovation partnership. And then finally, Helle will present shortly the 2 consortia we selected for the partnership and the solutions developed. And the next slide, please. The next slide. Yes, thank you. So it's important to say that in the DBA, we're not the procurer ourselves. We try to push the agenda of innovative public procurement through initiating and offering to finance and facilitate the process leading to an innovative procurement. And we do this in partnership with potential procurers, typically municipalities, as in this case also. And we do this, of course, to demonstrate the enormous potential in public procurement as a driver to stimulate innovation and new technology in the public sector to provide better public services and market growth. And the DBA has been working with this agenda for several years. We started out around 2011, trying out different methods. We launched several PCP partnerships, for example. And the innovation partnership was actually initiated as part of the launch of the new Danish law of procurement in January 2016, which introduced the new innovation partnership model. And we found the model really interesting, especially the elements of negotiation and the possibility of combining R&D with an option to buy in the same contract to strengthen the incentive on both sides. So the next slide, please. About the dialogue. So the subject of our innovation partnership was innovative solutions to reduce dehydration among elderly, a common problem leading to reduced life quality, dizziness, falling accidents, and hospitalization, and of course related also to substantial public sector spending. And of course, we didn't choose this subject. We asked the potential procurers, the municipalities, about the most important challenges they faced. And the DBA then had an analysis of potential done in 3 different areas, looking into the actual business case and possible life quality effects of new solutions. And on that basis, dehydration was then finally chosen, and our partnership was established with 3 different municipalities. We then further explored the subject through 2 workshops with professionals from 3 municipalities mapping their work processes related to dehydration and exploring possible areas for innovation. And a few weeks later, in January 16, we presented our learnings and the expected future call at an open information meeting where we invited for the market dialogue a month later and presented the new model of innovation partnership. And the market dialogue was then made through 2 workshops with approximately 40 participants, including businesses, professionals from the care sector, and national experts, who was matched in smaller groups to explore, for example, what are the technologies available today, the relevant scope for innovation, relevant minimal criteria, and so on. And also we encouraged the participants to network, to possibly form relevant consortia, and of course, through the whole process, we continuously qualified and adjusted the tender material and exact problem definition. So I think the key takeaways were that most participants were surprisingly open and willing to share their knowledge and ideas. So a very positive experience.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, right, yes. We have mapped our process in a triangle, and Charlotte has just described the 2 uppermost levels. I shall take you through the following stages. The call actually consisted of 3 elements: a pre-qualification, a call for preliminary bids, and then a call for final bids. From the pre-qualification, we received expressions of interest from 15 consortia. We selected 5 projects, and all 5 decided to forward a preliminary bid by November 2016. We then invited each consortium for 2 consecutive negotiation sessions of 3 hours each, with an identical agenda for each consortium. The topics of these negotiations were, for instance, phases, time frame, and intermediate objectives, test facilities, intellectual property rights, option for purchase, and maximum costs. Based on the learnings from this phase, the text of the final call underwent minor adjustments before publishing. By June 17, we had received and evaluated 5 final bids and selected and signed innovation contracts with 2 teams. Each contract was connected to one of the partner municipalities in view of joint development and testing. The innovation partnership contracts were signed for a maximum period of 24 months, and by the end of the phase, the development phase, the municipality was given 12 months to decide whether to purchase the solution or not. Next slide, please. Yes, as I mentioned, we proceeded with 2 consortia and 2 different solutions. It was also 2 very different experiences. The first solution was developed by 3 small established companies with complementary competences joining forces in a new consortium. This was a Danish consortium. The solution consists in an intelligent cup or glass measuring the intake of fluid thanks to weight and sonar technology. The cup is connected to a portable device, for instance, the mobile phone of the elderly person or a family member or a neighbor, and to the local healthcare center. The municipality has decided to purchase and use a small entity of the cup, actually. The second solution was developed by a young Norwegian team. It consists of a medical sensor patch measuring the humidity of the human tissue. Data collection goes via a local router to a portable device and to the local healthcare center. The development got pretty well off and ran for a year and a half, during which the team raised considerable supplementary investments and their organization grew. At this stage, it became clear that the team was not able to meet the requirements of the contract, especially the option of purchase was a challenge to this young team. And unfortunately, the collaboration had to be ended before schedule. These were our final words. Last slide, and thank you very much. Ready for your questions.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Charlotte and Helle. The slides were very good. Unfortunately, we could not see you by the video. We rely very much on the technology for this webinar, and not always the technology is up to the job. Apparently, there is a very low connection. I just now, we move to the most interactive part of our webinar. I will start by asking some questions to the panelists just to kick off the debate, but as previously told you, we invite you to submit your questions via Slido, and our colleague Carmen will read them so that we ensure that everybody can also listen. But of course, the questions will also appear on the screen and will be available to everybody. So this time I will start with Charlotte and Helle, and I would ask maybe what makes the innovation partnership different from the other procurement procedures in your view? Why did you choose the innovation partnership?
Well, when we first heard of the innovation partnership, we've been working with the PCP model in several different partnerships and experienced a barrier in the requirement to launch a new call after the R&D process to actually buy the solutions. So we found it very interesting that the innovation partnership model had the possibility of combining the R&D with the purchase option, which can make the procurement easier for the public side and increase the incentive for the businesses involved, as they don't have to share the secrets from the project and risk that another company wins the contract in the end. And also the possibility of negotiation was very interesting, of course, to secure better insight and avoid misunderstandings before launching the final call.
All right, thanks a lot. Very interesting. Maybe I would ask the same question to Matias. So what makes the innovation partnership procedure different from other procurement procedures? Why did you choose it?
Hear me? Yeah.
Do
As
hear
already
you.
mentioned, it gives us great flexibility now during this innovation process, as we can develop a product together with our partners, and in the end we are able to acquire the product or not, and even can have the right to get into a long-term strategic partnership and help also startups to grow and to get a place in the market.
Thanks. And what about Martin? Do you have anything to add again on this point? Why did you choose the innovation partnership? What makes it different from other procurement procedures?
Yeah, those 10 years ago when we started the program beta, the first beta, we used mostly the open procedures, and we encountered during the selection procedure that we got the bids, and almost in all times the experts in the committee from the governmental bodies was saying something like, okay, there is something in this bit that we would like to have, and in combination with this part from the other bit, it would be perfect for us. So then we started to use the negotiation procedures, and directly after it was implemented in our legislation, we have started the innovation partnerships like the others. Yeah.
All right, many thanks. And just to follow up a bit on the discussion, maybe we'll start this time with Matias, and then followed by Martin, and then by Helle and Charlotte. And the question which I would ask to all our speakers, what have been the main challenges that you found in the organization, in the development? It's a longer process in the end, it's a more complicated and certainly innovative, there is less experience. What were the main challenges that you had to face? So the floor is with Matias, then
Yeah, so one of the main challenges we faced in the beginning, of course, was to set up objective assessment criteria of how we choose the partners. In the qualitative criteria, we put a lot of effort into this stage. And now during the innovation phase, it's a new experience for us to work together with a strategic partner, with small companies, and to share the know-how and to develop a product which is really very interesting for us, and we enjoy a lot. As already mentioned, one of the biggest challenges for us was the lack of experience on the SME side during the tendering process, where we had to eliminate SMEs in the tendering process due to must-have criteria errors, which they didn't expect to be so important because of their lack of experience. So this is something we would definitely do better next time. But as you already mentioned, it was the first time we did that, and so it's quite good to have some lessons learned then.
So thanks a lot. Now the floor is to
Yeah. Okay. The first challenge we had was that we are not procuring for our needs, but for the needs of the other governmental bodies. So the communication, description of the need, and the first initial discussions with the governmental bodies is a challenging part of the whole procedure. Then the suppliers in Czech Republic are not used to discuss and negotiate with the procurer. So as I said, it was and still is very hard to convince the suppliers to go in the, for example, even preliminary market consultations. Even we are publishing in TED, and even we are publishing it in sometimes in our English website of the agency, but it's very hard. And then, in general, the preliminary phase or the preparation of the procedure is very challenging in general. Yeah.
That's very clear. Charlotte and Helle, what was your main challenge? Hello, can you hear us? Charlotte?
Yeah, right.
Hello.
Yeah. A major challenge for the companies applying for the contracts were that they had to fix a price for the final product already at a stage when we hadn't really a concept of this product. This means that when the application was made and almost 4 years later there is an option for purchase, the price could be too low or too high, or well, not at least in one of our cases it was a challenge to a team who had fixed the price too low so that they weren't really able to honor the contract.
Very good, very clear. I understand that though in Denmark you didn't have any difficulty in meeting suppliers, and there is a different attitude. I'm told by my colleagues that there are many questions. So I will pass now the floor to Carmen to see what the participants have been asking. And we will see also the questions on the screen. Go ahead, Carmen.
Okay, so many of the questions address the width of the preliminary market consultations and state-of-the-art analysis that have been conducted prior to launching the procedure. So, Martin, have you checked whether solutions existed already on the market in Europe?
Yes, yes, of course. Even it's not done formally, but during this preparatory phase, in general, in the example I have presented, we use the knowledge of the governmental body from their international peers of these governmental bodies, using also some commercial available software for this purpose. So yes, we did it, even not formally. It was mostly, in that case, it was international, but mostly we are using the Europe-wide screening. Yeah.
The same question was addressed to Matias.
Yeah, actually it was quite similar to what just Martin said. Of course, we did a detailed market research with internal and external stakeholders. We went across the border to see if possible solutions are on the market, and you always have to bear in mind that we have a very specific portfolio concerned to other real estate companies, and our needs is for the public real estate. So the market was already smaller, and that was the main reason then why we had to do this step to develop a product.
A question for Ivo. So in TED, there are more than 250 innovation partnerships awarded, whilst you presented only 96 of those. Maybe we should learn from also the not so good ones, Do you intend to publish the results of this study?
Well, on the results of this study, I think that what we are going to do is to publish online our slides. Eventually, we could think of presenting more detailed slides. I just would like to precise and recall on the difference of number 250 versus 96. So we have done a very thorough data cleaning exercise in the cases of innovation partnership which are available in TED. And many buyers, unfortunately, indicate that they have been following an innovation partnership while it is not the case. So they followed completely different procedures. So in reality, these are not bad results, these are not failures, but on the contrary, these are simply fake cases, if we can say.
Okay. One more question for you. Will the slides of these presentations be made available to the participants?
Yes, as again, we will make the slides available. And I think that also the recording of this webinar will be made available on our website.
Okay, a very practical question. How do you handle the language issue when working cross-border for the innovation partnership? Do you have a framework or support? I guess this is for our presenters.
Yes, so let's say Charlotte and Helle, would you like to start with this? And then this is followed by Matias and then by Martin. Thanks.
Yes, we in Denmark we were innovating within the elderly sector, so we were quite conscious that we needed people speaking Danish in order to communicate. Also, we chose to publish our calls in Danish and ask for collaboration in Danish.
Actually, it's the same with us, but not in Danish, but in German. So fully support Charlotte's answer.
Yeah, that's nearly the same for us. Actually, we are sometimes presenting the basic info of the preliminary market consultation in English, only in English, and waiting whether someone will ask to join the preliminary market consultation. But actually, for those we tried till now, no one answered to enter from outside the Czech Republic.
To the Danish team, did you decide for the innovation partnership before or after the market engagement?
I'm not quite sure your question. We decided already back in 2015 to test the model. No matter, we actually just looked for an experiment. And we had a new Procurement Act coming in Denmark by January 1st, 2016. So this was an opportunity for us to test and to demonstrate how to use the innovation partnership.
Matias, do you see innovation partnership as a suitable tool for most procurers or for those with previous experience in innovation procurement?
I see the innovation partnership as one tool to get innovative ideas and innovative developments in the public, into the public sector. But as, for example, Martin today also mentioned, the competitive dialogue is another one. And of course, also the common procurement procedures. But of course, the innovation partnership gives us an additional and very good opportunity to get innovative ideas into the public sector.
A next question. At the end of the R&D phase, you have to select one of the developed solutions, right? How do you select the best one? Do you have to pay for the development of both solutions, even if at the end you only have to select one?
Well, let's start with Martin answering to this question. I do not know also if the others want to take it up.
Yeah. Yes, we have to select the best one, of course. But actually, if what we intend to have is possible, I can't imagine if how you can go not to have something you want. so always it's like in project. I can see the innovation procurement or innovation partnership, especially as a project. So when you have project and when you have the all partners needed on board, you have to have the aim of the project fulfilled in the end. So actually, I can imagine maybe some very special research intensive things when you in some phase end up that it's impossible to have what you want. But in general, I think in almost all cases you need to finish the innovation partnership with something you want.
So Martin, have you paid all the participants that with whom you concluded the innovation partnership?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
But I don't understand what are the participants. In the formal procedure, you have the suppliers with which you have the agreement from the beginning. So of course we are paying for their work during the innovation partnership. But of course, we don't pay, for example, the people from the governmental body for whom we are procuring this project. They are part of the project. They are paid on their side, so we are not paying them.
Thank you. What would be the pros and cons of innovation partnership compared to the competitive dialogue?
Who wants to take this? Matias or Martin?
I think Martin is the best one because he has the experience with both.
I think so. Martin, it's again you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So, yeah, actually, I think that all four innovation partnerships we are doing now could be done by competitive dialogue, actually, and to be really honest. The pros of innovation partnership is that you can face the project. You do not need to have everything clear at the beginning. That's the pro of competitive dialogue, when you have to have always everything clear in the beginning, and then you do the dialogue with the selected suppliers, and the aim or the finish of this competitive dialogue is very clear. That's the difference from innovation partnership, when you can face the project and you can also try more than one example. That's the difference from competitive dialogue. In competitive dialogue, you do the dialogue, select one, and with this one supplier, you have a contract and you work the things. But in innovation partnership, you can select two, have two examples, and select the best and continue with the best one. So it's based it's based how you do the preliminary market consultation.
Thank you, Martin. I think it's very clear.
I think it's very clear. Also, it's very clear that when there are difficult questions, the other speakers are very unanimous in passing you the floor. And certainly this derives from your very long experience. It's very interesting what you were saying about the difference between the two types of procedures. We have many, many questions, so I pass again the floor to Carmen to see, to pick up the most relevant.
Okay, so a question to the Danish team. Tricky one. How was this research and development? There were already smart drinking glasses on the market before this innovation partnership started. Smart patches were brought to the market already in several other countries before the purchase phase of the Danish partnership started. So the question is, how wide was your state-of-the-art analysis when you launched this procedure?
Okay, our market research was conducted with Danish experts and public and private experts and users. The fact that there were, for instance, smartwatches, patches on the market, that is true. We also, in these two projects, we also worked on the connection of the technology to the public healthcare sector or the center. So this is what we considered was also innovative.
Have you published the opportunity of preliminary market consultation at European level?
Yes, we published the pre-qualification and both the call also.
But not the preliminary market consultation.
Excuse me. I'm really not certain it was for my time. I don't think so, actually.
Okay, okay.
So sorry, maybe as time is running, we are, so we will have maybe one or two questions, final questions to our speakers, and then we will unfortunately have to close our webinar despite there are many, many questions, but I will come back later on how we will get back to the other questions. Thanks, Carmen. The floor is again yours.
A question from Gaynor to the presenters. Surely fixing a price for the final product at the start is impossible. Is this always necessary?
So let's go in the following order. We start with Matias, then Martin, and then Charlotte and Helle.
Yeah, Keno is right. It is really very challenging to fix a price at the beginning. But you have to bear in mind that there was a long negotiation process also for us, where we put together our needs and with the requirements on the other side. So there is a price set in the end of the tendering process with the last and final offer. But of course, throughout the milestones now and the interim goals, this final price goes up and down from time to time as there are many things coming out during this project.
Yep, I agree, but it's as I said, it's a project. So when you have the range of the prices and you set up, you have to fulfill the range, of course.
The Danish?
Yes, as I already mentioned, this was a considerable challenge in Denmark. When the applicants describe their solution, it does not contain, well, in our case, it didn't contain the actual device at the end. What were we supposed to buy, or what were the municipalities supposed to buy? So it was a big challenge, and it also was the reason why one of our development projects didn't reach the target, actually.
So the final question.
Not easy to choose the very final one. Yes, one coming from John. So he says the case study presented is not a unique problem. So how can you use innovation partnership, and why not to use an unbundled purchase that is first a PCP and then an innovation, a procurement of innovation solution? So split the purchase in two. First, the research and development, and then the result of this research.
So let's start with let's go with the following order. First, Charlotte and Helle, then Martin, then Matias. Thank you.
Cool.
Our experience from the PCP projects that we had conducted was that it was difficult in the end when you actually need to go through as another call to make the purchase. We found that this was difficult. It was difficult to put all the applicants at the same level, and then when this new innovation partnership model was launched, we thought that this was the way to solve it. We were quite seduced by the idea that you could make one big contract containing the development phase and the purchase.
Okay, in Czech Republic, it's nearly impossible to do legally the PCP. So in our case, it's clear we have to use the innovation partnership for this.
There's not much to add. At least we think that our problem was unique. At least we were the first who tried to solve this needs. So we think the innovation partnership was the best case for that.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. Well, first, let me thank our speakers for their availability and for presenting these very, very interesting cases. And also thanks to all the participants. I'm told by our technical service that there were more than 630 people connected to the internet, so it's a really a big success, and this really shows the interest of this webinar. As we said earlier, this is the first webinar which opens a cycle of webinars. The following one will be on the 1st of December, and all those registered to today's webinar will receive a link which would direct them directly to the registration page of this second webinar, in case you are interested. As we said, this first webinar, it's about preliminary market consultation and preparation of an innovation partnership, while the following one, which will take place on the 1st of December, will cover from negotiation to the execution of the innovation partnership. Both webinars will take place at 11 o'clock and will last 1 hour from 11 to 12. We will also send also a feedback, let's say, questionnaire, which will allow us to improve the organization and define the topics for the forthcoming webinars. So we really invite you to answer to that. Also, I invite you to join, if you're interested in this topic, to join the LinkedIn group, which has just been created. It is called Agents of Innovation Procurement, and it will allow us to continue the discussion and also to answer to some of the questions which have been raised during today's webinar and which have remained unanswered. The very last thing before closing is that we ask you to indicate in one single word today's event. What is your impression? And you can do this by using Slido, and we'll be happy to very happy to show this into a cloud. I see that replies are coming. Maybe while replies are coming, we can see 1 second the slide before, if we can, while people are answering to this cloud. The one which has our links. So here we have the first link. You will find our web page. There are, of course, the links to the webinars. Here we will publish the recording of our webinar, and also we will soon publish calls of our PPI projects. The second is the LinkedIn group, which I was already mentioning before. And of course, the third is our functional mailbox, which is being created to support for the questions you may have on this specific topic. So now we can, while people are answering, we can go back to our cloud, and let's see what are the results of the sum up, the word which is sum ups today's event put by our participants. Well, it goes, no, it doesn't go bad. I see interesting, useful, and interesting cases, which are the prevailing word appearing so far. Of course, some comments also highlight some difficulties, such as might be difficult for SMEs, but also some say that it was too short. So in the end, I think that it comes as a very positive results, and we really look forward for all your comments to the feedback questionnaire. Thank you very much, and with this we close the event.